Hello, my name is Stephanie. I'm one of the Elevate artists funded by the Stars Appeal. Ordinarily, I would work with patients at their bedside and I would encourage people to talk, often inspired by objects or flowers out of my garden or pictures, things that I've taken in from the outside world to help people remember thoughts, feelings, memories, and their life beyond the hospital, and to reconnect with the people and the places and events that they hold dear but are really disconnected from. Seasonal changes are a great starting point, and I have a selection of photos that I've taken this month of May on my walks or cycles in my local area, which straddles access to the New Forest, to the River Avon, and the country estates of Bremer, Trafalgar and Longford. And over the years, I've met many women in particular who, from the age of 14, were in service in some of the country estates across the county. And they've talked of quiet lives that were very sheltered. And in particular, two ladies who were sheltered didn't even realise the Second World War was happening because they couldn't read. They had no access to newspapers, and being very lowly in the hierarchy of the kitchens, weren't even allowed to listen to the radio. I've met a few men who were gamekeepers or in charge of the horses, and quite often couples have met because they've been in service. At the start of May, I shared the dawn chorus with everybody, and that included the sound of the cuckoo. And I still hear the cuckoo most days as I live near the River Avon. But quite often now, as I sit in my garden in the dusk, the cuckoo is calling late into the darkness. The swifts have returned and are swooping over the river, and the hedgerows are starry with elderflower blossom, and I've picked and made elderflower cordial. The yellow of buttercups has taken over from the rapeseed, and new ferns are uncurling in the forest. I often ask patients to describe to me a favourite place to walk, and we retrace their steps together. What they see, what can they hear, why is it special to them? Or it might be a cycle ride. And actually, a lot of older people, again, will talk about how they all had bicycles and they would cycle to work, and that might be an 8-mile journey there and an 8-mile journey home again for their tea. And then they would think nothing of getting on their bicycles again and going out for the evening, perhaps to the local dance, and then to cycle home again. And many courtships were held on, made possible by bicycles. And actually, it's quite nice at the moment to see the roads full of bicycles again. And quite often when people are telling me about their walks, they will also tell me about their dog, who may still be at home, or it may be a dog that they've had at some point in their past. And dogs, cats, pets are a great source of comfort to people in hospital, and people will love to talk about them. And if you look on my photographs, you may spot my little dog Pip, and invariably my dog Pip, tiniest Jack Russell, suits her name, is with me on our walks. So I just want you to think, where would you walk or cycle now if you could? If you could just go anywhere, retrace your steps to somewhere that's important, where would you walk? What makes that route so special, so comforting? And it may just be, the walk up to I don't remember one lady saying that she loved to walk to the letterbox at the end of the road every day, just as the children were coming out of school. And even if she didn't have a letter to post, she would still walk to the letterbox to coincide with the children leaving from school, because it meant that she saw cheery faces, and ordinarily she wouldn't see cheery faces alone at home in her bungalow. So thinking about that walk that you would go on, what do you notice as you go on the walk? My walks at the moment are filled with the blossoms, the elderflowers, the Queen Anne lace in the hedgerows, the sound of the birds. And over this month, we began the month in May, and there was still morning frost. I had some mornings when there was frost on the shed roof, and now it's really hot. And an expression that I've grown up with is don't cast a clout till May is out, which I've always understood to be don't start taking all your clothes off, don't strip down to your summer gear until the end of May, because it could just turn at any point. I sat in the New Forest as well with a very old guidebook, which I think was produced in the 1920s, and I've included that. And taking in maps, particularly, people love looking at a map. I love looking at a map, and I'm sorry that it's not very detailed, but my book, I think, was printed in the 1920s, and you can see that there's also a newspaper cutting that I found folded in the book. This is from 1928, and it's a newspaper story about the New Forest courts, the verderers' courts, and the verderers keep charge of the New Forest. And this was in the time pre-National Park, so when the New Forest didn't belong to the nation, wasn't controlled in the way that it is now. But again, looking in that book, I also shared with you a page of the advert for hotels and tea rooms, and it very much talks about going out into the New Forest for a walk or a cycle and having tea while you're there, which is a lovely thing to do. There's another little expression that I know: shear your sheep in May and shear them all away. So again, don't take their woolly coats off too soon, because they could get really cold and not survive. But at the moment, we're really in quite a lot of heat. And as I walked by the river yesterday, I disturbed a white egret, which kind of really reluctantly lifted itself off the ground and flapped away with a kind of a whatever attitude. I hope you enjoy walking in May and thinking about May, and I shall be back in June with Pip. And you can see that we did make one very early morning trip to a beach, which Pip does enjoy, and I had a swim. And in June, I think we'll do some more wandering at the beach.